Welcome, welcome, welcome to Story Time with me, Miss Sheila. I hope you're having a wonderful and beautiful day. Today's story is called I Am John Lewis. So let's find out about him. I am John Lewis, and it looks like he's standing in front of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. What should you do when you see something that's unfair? Should you ignore it? Should you walk away? Or should you march forward and try to make things better? Even as a little boy, I liked making things better. On our farm in Alabama, we'd fill a bucket with rain to water our vegetables and flowers. I loved making things grow and raising them up. In our farm, we raised cotton, peanuts, corn, and my favorite chickens. No one else could tell the chickens apart, but I could. We had Rhode Island Reds, Bantams, and Dominiques. They each had their own personality, and though my family thought we were strange, I named a few. Little Poulette was my favorite, and she followed me everywhere like a pet. Big Belle once fell down a well, and we couldn't get her out for 5 days, ooch, until we lowered down a basket with breadcrumbs, and darned if she didn't climb right in. My parents told me to just feed them, but I'd always talk to them first. Tick, 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 tickies. That's what he's saying in the picture. When I was 4 years old, an uncle gave me a Bible. By five, I could read it myself. Wow. At night, I'd pretend the chickens were my congregation, and I was their teacher. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. They squawk at first and settle down and get very still. To me, they seemed so vulnerable. I gave them love and they loved me back. That love and compassion is something I carried into the world. Well, that's a beautiful thing to carry into the world, love and compassion. Yet, life wasn't easy. When I was growing up, black people were treated very unfairly just because the color of their skin. If you were black, you couldn't sit next to a white person on a bus, use the same water fountain, or eat in the same restaurant. Awful. Even as a kid, I knew it wasn't fair. And here's the white school with the new playground, and here's my school with no playground. When I was a teen, the laws changed so that black and white people wouldn't have different schools or be treated unequally. And I was excited. And here he goes, I bet they're going to fix our school. But for us, nothing changed. School stayed the same. My parents didn't want me making waves. My grandmother had a different approach. Back then, if you were black and a white person came walking down the street, you were expected to cross the other side. So this man, it says, you better move to the other side. And then his grandmother goes, thank you, but I'm fine where I am. Bravo. My grandmother knew the rule was unfair, so she respectfully refused to accept. You have a good day now. At 11, I went to Buffalo, New York with my uncle. There I was impressed that black and white people worked together and even lived next door to each other. When I got back home, I realized that everyone didn't have the same chance at the American dream. Thankfully, there were other ways for me to see what the world had to offer. At my school library, I found magazines and newspapers with black leaders who inspired me. So here's the librarian. It says, my dear children, read and read everything. At 15, my life changed when I learned about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. They inspired me to get into trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble, which means standing up against unfair treatment. And here in the newspaper it says, the bus boycott changed laws. Soon enough, I did just that. Since our town library was for whites only, I went inside and politely said, "I'd like to apply for a library card, please." When they refused, I circulated a petition around school. We never got a response, but that petition was a start, an action, and now I wanted to do more. During college, I finally got to meet my hero, Dr. King. I also met Jim Lawson, who would turn my world around. He taught a workshop on nonviolence using methods developed by Gandhi. So here in its circles, it says it's called civil disobedience. It's how you change an evil system without violence. We must use passive resistance. What's that? Love. We'll use love and peaceful ways to change what's unfair in society. Right there, I knew that this is what I was meant for. Every Tuesday night in church, we practice our nonviolent strategies. If someone screamed at you, you looked straight ahead and never dreamed of hitting or screaming back. Sometimes it's hard to keep calm. To do it, I try to remember that all people have the capacity for good. When you show your enemy love, it makes you a better human being. Our first trial run was at a department store. My whole life, I was told I couldn't use the library or drink at the fountain or eat in the restaurant. I hated those rules, but I always followed them. Until now. It's store policy not to serve colored people here. I was nervous, but I didn't let it stop me. Peacefully, calmly, I sat down. Eventually, we left without incident. A week later, we repeated it. Word began to spread. Soon 4 students started a sit-in in Greensboro, North Carolina. That grew to 10 students, then 85 students. In Nashville, our protest grew bigger as well. What started as a small sit-in was becoming a movement. Ma'am, may we be served? We don't serve your kind here. It wasn't easy. Some people attacked us. On this day, we were sent to jail. We told you you can't be in those seats. We shall overcome. Stop singing. But no matter how violent people got, we stayed true to our rules and be friendly. We shall overcome. I said stop singing. Remember, love and nonviolence. It was my first arrest. It wouldn't be my last. When people bombed our lawyer's house, we kept calm and we marched. It was the first mass march for the civil rights that anyone had seen at such a scale. We protested movie theaters that wouldn't sell tickets to Black people. We held freedom rides, protesting bus companies that wouldn't allow black people on board. Each time they called us names. We marched in silence, black and white protesters together. Soon after, Nashville became the first big southern city to give Black people the rights we deserved and let everyone sit together. But there was still so much to do. Each time they came to us with violence. Each time they threw us in jail. But we never lost our calm, and we never ever stopped fighting for what was right. The question people ask me more than any other is simply, how did you do it? How do you let someone scream at you, hit you, yet you never raise your hand in self-defense? People joined us from around the country. Oh, I should. And the answer is, sorry, I should do this. It's self-defense, he goes. The answer is, I have faith. That doesn't mean it's easy. In fact, it's hard. But having faith means you believe in something so deeply, you forgive, you figure out how to make a way out of no way. Strength like that can't be ignored. People joined us from around the country. Pastors, rabbis, teachers, all types of people, all of them making us stronger than ever. We need to march with them. That's not fair. We need to march. We should have our own freedom rides. We should go there and march. What do you want? Freedom. And you could feel it. More change was coming. By 1963, 1 million Americans held their own protests. Two men named A. Philip Randolph and Bayard Rustin organized a peaceful march in Washington, D.C. At 23 years old, I was the sixth speaker. I was so nervous. My voice trembled at first, and then, to those who have said, be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. We do not want our freedom gradually, but we want to be free now. Yes. After the March on Washington, a new law, the Civil Rights Act, was passed, but it didn't include enough protections for voting rights. Black people were still being stopped from voting. To protest, 600 activists in Selma, Alabama planned to walk 54 miles to the state capital of Montgomery. The governor said he would stop us. You know they're going to attack us. I know people want to march. We can't let them march alone. We walked two by two, many of the people coming straight from church. When we got to the Edmund Pettus Bridge, a wall of state troopers blocked our way. Wow. This is an unlawful assembly. You have 2 minutes to turn around. Going forward would have led to violence, so I turned to my friend. We should kneel and pray. And that's what they did. Troopers, advance. I was the first to be hit. They knocked us down. They hit us hard. They sprayed us with the gas that stung our eyes. And we remained peaceful, but we didn't make it across. That day was named Bloody Sunday. People around the country saw the violence faced by the protesters. It made them realize how poorly black people were treated. 2 days later, while I was recuperating, Dr. King came. This time there was 2,500 people trying to make it across the bridge. Like before, we tried. Like before, we stayed peaceful. Like before, we didn't make it across. Did that stop us? Not a chance. Our third try was on March 21st, 1965. Now we had 8,000 people. Together we marched for 5 days. My injuries were so bad they had to drive me home each night. It still didn't stop me. I marched 7 miles on the first day, 16 on the second, 11 on the third, 16 on the fourth, and then 6 miles on the final day. I marched in the rain. I marched with my injuries. I marched and the whole world saw, including the White House. President Johnson sent in troops to keep us safe. Eventually, we reached Montgomery, Alabama. Soon after, a new law, the Voting Rights Act, was passed and the voting rules began to change. My vote, but my work, was just beginning. There's a time to march and there's a time to run. To change the laws, I needed to make the laws. In 1986, I was elected to the U.S. Congress, the second black person in Georgia to ever win. Wow. I was arrested 5 times as a congressperson to protesting whenever I thought people were being treated unfairly. My life is proof. Protests can change the world. In my life, I was told to stay out of trouble, to stay quiet, to stay out of the way. That's definitely the easiest path. But when you or someone else is being treated unfairly, it's not the right path. If something isn't right, or just, or fair, you need to say something, do something, help those who need it, make some noise, and move your feet. Freedom only comes when people take action. Yes. I have faith in my dreams. I have faith in this country. I have faith that we can make a way out of no way. and that I am unshakable. We are one people, we are one family, and now it's time for you to do your part. Stand up, speak up, be prepared to march. It's your turn now. I'm John Lewis, and I'm never afraid to get in good trouble. Wow. And then here is a picture of him in real life. So I really hope you learned a lot in this story and that you remember to be a good example and to stand up for what is right. Until next time with me, Miss Sheila, keep shining your light bright. Bye for now.